Hello, my name is Alejandro Ramirez, and today I'll be talking about some basic fundamentals in aviation. These are things you will need to know if you are interested in the aviation industry, and they're used to help pilots, air traffic controllers, and flight instructors do their jobs. I'll be talking about three basic fundamentals today to help get you started on your path to a career in aviation. I'll try to make this as clear as possible as to not confuse you because I understand that you are starting in aviation and it could get a little bit difficult, but I will make it as easy as I can. The three things I'll be talking about today are number one, sectional charts, which are maps designed to have all the information to help pilots know about an area and to help them navigate. Number two, I'll be talking about flight planning, and for this, I'll be using SkyVector to plan a flight and show you all the things that it tells you. And lastly, I'll be talking about Morse code. Morse code is still used to this day, and it's radio telegraphy, and it is used to communicate with pilots when they're on a flight. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so this right here is a website called SkyVector, and it has a lot of useful information, and it has this right here, what you're seeing is a sectional chart, and it has a lot of information as you can see, but I will be explaining it to you as best as I can. So let's just get started, and some of the things here that you can see, you can notice these yellow areas here. And these are areas that have a lot of buildings and it's just a congested area. These dots here, yellow dots, you can see them, they're all over. There's yellow dot here, green dots. These are all weather stations in airports, and you can click on them and it will show you a lot of information. This is information on the airport, and it'll show you things like down here there's charts and runway information, just a bunch of stuff that you can use if you ever need to go to that airport while you're on a flight. These magenta rings here, this right here is actually it means it's a class A airspace that goes down to 700 feet. And anywhere where there's not a magenta ring, let's say right here, this area here, that would be the class E airspace here would be going to 1,200 feet. So anything below that would be classified as class G airspace. And these right here at Salinas Airport, this has a blue dotted ring, and that classifies, this shows you that it's a class D airspace, and it goes to 2,500 feet, so 2,500. And it shows that right here, it says 25, that means 2,500 feet. There's a lot of numbers and things you can see. So let me just show you close up here. This number is a radio frequency. It says CT 119.525, and that shows you that it's the control tower's frequency. And you can tune into that to talk to the control tower and get information from them. And there's also another number down here, ATIS 124.85, and that's another frequency that tells you about maybe approaches to the runway, which runways are open, and maybe weather information. And that's really useful for when you're about to land there. There's a lot more information around here. Okay, so you can see these R's here, and it says PVT and Monterey Bay Academy. That's a private airport, and it can't be used by the general public because it's private. So you don't normally land there. And these right here, the difference between a red or a magenta and the blue little thing right here, these signs, that just means the blue has a control tower and the magenta doesn't. So you just have to keep that in mind, because not every airport has a control tower. And there's a lot more information here. You can see these things. It means it's a tower that's taller than 1,000 feet. The ones that are below 1,000 feet would be these right here. And there's a lot of information here that can get really confusing. So I'll just keep it to the basics. This it's ring around here is really important. This is actually a TFR. Let me zoom out so you can read it. Okay. This shows you that there's a TFR, which means you can't fly over here at the time that it tells you. It says it's valid for 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it starts at 21:05. So that's a football game, and they don't want you flying over places like this when there's a lot of people, and it can, if something bad were to happen, it could be potentially really dangerous. So you don't fly over these when they're there. There's a lot more information here, obviously, but we'll keep it short because we need to talk about 2 other things. And we'll talk about the flight planning next, which we'll also use this website for. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about flight planning, and I'll just show you a really quick way to plan a flight and some of the information it'll tell you. So you go up here, it says flight plan. You click on it, and it shows you all this thing where you could fill it out. So I wanna make a flight from Salinas to Napa. So since we know Salinas is down here, we could just click on it and you put plan and it'll go up here. And if you know the name of the airport, you could put what it is. I know it's KAPC. I don't know why it does that. APC. Enter, and it'll send you to Napa. So there's a lot of information you could fill out here. Let's say I don't want to go at 150, I want to go at 100 knots, and the altitude I want to be at 500 feet. Oh no, that's 5,000. 1,000 feet. And for the fuel, you have 10. Okay. And it shows you here how much time it'll take, the distance. You could say at what time you want to leave. Say 0900. Changes because there might be like traffic and all this. But there's a VFR here. So let's say we don't want to get in the way of that VFR. We can actually drag the purple line. Oh. To go around it, we could drag it. Let's say, what is this? Reed Hill View. So you can take that route and you can move it around and you won't go over the VFR anymore. And as you can see, it takes the plan, goes all the way to Napa. So there's more information when you click on Navlog. So I'll click on it and it'll take me to this page. This shows you some of the information like the top of climb here. And there's a lot of little initials things. These things you'll learn eventually. This WDIR is wind direction, WSPD is wind speed, the TAS is the true airspeed, the MH, that's magnetic heading. You know, it's just a bunch of information that's useful. You could print this out, it's in a PDF form, and you'll take it with you when you're on your flight, or you'll have it on your iPad or whatever. And it's just a useful way to have your flight so you know where you're going and all the information about it. So that's just the basic way to plan a flight. It obviously can get much more complicated. You can go further, you can move it around this purple line. Let's say you want to go over here. Don't know why you would do that, but you could. And you go like that, you can see changes the time, the distance. There's all sorts of things you can mess around with, but this is just the basics. And next we'll be talking about Morse code. So let's move on to that. I'm going to be talking about Morse code. Morse code is still used to this day in aviation, and it's used to identify aircraft call signs and airports. These are just things like you'll have to know if you want to be a pilot. And it's basically just, right here it shows, it's just dots and dashes. And you can either read them like this, or they actually have sound. So I'll show you a quick example right here of how it sounds. Like when they play it on a radio frequency, it would sound like this, like if it was the alphabet. So you can see like the dashes are like a longer sound and the dots are more like a deet, like a quick sound. So if it would be A, it would be like deet deet. And you can actually write it down. Like an exercise you can try is writing your name down in Morse code. So I'll show you how my name would look in Morse code. All right, so here's my name in Morse code. I already wrote it down just to not stretch this video out too long. Here's the A, which is a dot and a dash. The L is a dot, dash, dot, dot. The E is just a dot. The J is a dot, dash, dash, dash. Another A here is dot, dash. An N is dash, dot. D is dash, dot, dot. And R is dot, dash, dot. And finally the O is just 3 dashes. So this is just another exercise you can try. Obviously, it's a little confusing at first, but if you keep practicing this Morse code alphabet, you'll eventually learn it. It's just a thing. It's like learning the alphabet again. Shouldn't be too hard, and you won't have too much trouble with it. So this is basically all that I have to talk about. I showed you again the 3 basic things, fundamentals in aviation. It's sectional charts, flight planning, and finally here's Morse code. These are things you should try to get to understand better if you want to get into the aviation industry. And I hope you learned a lot and that I helped you. So thank you for your time and goodbye.